that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah. Open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AoA show. I am your host, as always, Ian, along with my boys, Isaiah.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Gavin.
Oh, what's up?
I have to do it like that because we're talking about the God of High School, so it would only be fitting that we like Bruce Buffer this shit, and it's like the introduction.
What?
Sorry, Bruce Buffer is the announcer or the guy who introduced people in the UFC. So he's like fighting out of the red corner or whatever, you know what I mean? That guy goes like actually fucking ham.
I like how unamused I say it is. He's like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, now you
Anything
do.
you're
So
saying.
you learn something new every day. You're welcome. Anyway,
Bruce,
so
it's in one ear, out the other.
yeah, Bruce Buffer. Then I don't want to hear you bitching if I say it again. Bruce Buffer is the name. No, anyway, though, so no surprise, we're talking about the God of High School. This is episode 5. This one's called Rond / Hound. And these guys were goofing on me because if you watched our live reaction video, if you haven't, I highly suggest it. It was a great one. But they were joking on me because I was like, dude, I think this is my favorite episode yet. And they're like, you've said that every episode. But I'm going to be honest, literally, I genuinely believe most of them, there's an argument to be made that maybe some topped others. But like, generally speaking, the show has been an incline up for me, right? Like, there might be an argument to be made between like 2 or 3, like which one was better, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, man, like every episode has just gotten better, in my personal opinion. I highly fuck with this show. I think, we could say it once, said 1,000 times, but these fights are fucking gorgeous. And I really fuck with this story. And especially this one today, because this pulled at so many heartstrings. So you guys were commenting before because the webtoon had taken some different approaches, or they didn't show some things, but they kind of took this episode to flesh some of those things out. So hopefully some people out there are satisfied, because last week we were like, wow, Dae-Wi, man, he's really fallen off here. You know what I mean? Like, he just lost it. Now he's just beating the shit out of this girl. But you know, we get a lot more backstory this time on why he's feeling the way he does, and knowing that it's not just out of some sort of blind aggression like it is, but he's kind of being played like a fiddle in a sense too. And now, like, you know, his friend's life is really on the line. So, you know, his friend did not die, as it may have seemed. It was kind of misleading last episode because it was literally like, and
he flatline, and they're like, oh no, he's not dead. And I'm like, bro, they literally showed him dead, and the bitch was like peeling his eye, like with like a fucking, I don't even know what it was, and I'm like, dude, who?
I think it was just his hand, homie.
What?
I think he was just like opening his eye with his hand.
Yeah, but who just does that?
Doctors, nigga. Who does that? The people that work there.
You go in there like, I broke my arm. They're like, hold on a second, fucking open your eye.
They don't
like,
do it all the
like,
time, but if they think a nigga's dead, they gotta fucking check his. What?
I know, I'm just fucking with you.
I hate you.
I know, but I'm just saying, when they show someone flatline and end it, like, you kind of get the thought that he's dead.
No, they definitely were like, I guess, and I think after this episode, it's kind of obvious that like, as much as Dae-Wi was being played, like, the audience, your expectations are sort of played with, where it's like, oh, okay, like, I get it, he's dead, and Dae-Wi's pissed, and then it's like, oh no, he's actually alive, and he's not really pissed, but he's just kind of, oh, now he is dead, and like, it's like, it kind of just goes on this, like, you know, fucking teeter-totter.
I want to get into how much Park is a literal dirtbag too, because he's playing not even the characters within a fictional show, but us real people like a fucking fiddle, based off of everything that's going on here. So the episode opens and we get some exposition, some backstory with Dae-Wi and his friend, whose name evades me. Shoot me. They are just brawling for fun on a rooftop somewhere, which honestly, I can relate. My friends and I used to just beat the shit out of each other all the time when we were kids, so I get it. There is some sort of thrill about it. I didn't live
That's nice to hear.
I didn't live thrill in childhood. I'm just saying, some people might call them crazy, but there's a thrill to it, and it's fun. And I actually relate it to...
No, I think they just call it crazy.
I don't think that makes it not crazy. I think it just means you're crazy.
Okay, I was gonna relate it to Naruto for once, where
those niggas are still crazy. Yeah, anybody who fights for no reason is crazy. You're not gonna justify it by adding more characters to the mix. You're like, every other anime character does it. Like, what?
I'm really just sensing a lot of judgment from everyone here today because I live a different lifestyle and I'm not appreciating it right now. Anyway, they're fighting, okay, which shows like their camaraderie, at least the way I perceived it. Apparently not for some people, but their camaraderie.
I'm just saying, you could shake hands. You know, that works too.
No, just go to a movie, like have some lunch.
You know, hang out.
That's not fun, okay? All right, we're going to get off this. Uncultured swine. Anyway, so it shows at their bonds and their camaraderie that's being built. Fire off the fucking amazing OP, which Isaiah is clearly blind, deaf, and dumb. And doesn't understand.
I think I just at this point,
Now
though,
he's not holding
at
back,
this point,
dude.
I definitely just hate it because you guys are standing it so much.
Bro.
Yeah, you hate everything because someone else likes it. That's literally the reason why you
That
hate
is
half the shit.
100% not true.
That is 100% true.
I'm gonna let
You are so quick to draw the
I'm gonna
wrong
let the two
conclusion.
lives fight in the corner here, and I'm gonna fucking eat my popcorn and chill. So
Anyway,
keep
we'll
going,
get into the
darlings.
episode. But so we open the episode up after the OP, and we have Jin just molly-whopping the jiu-jitsu expert, which is ironic because the jiu-jitsu expert fought with nothing that had to do with jiu-jitsu. And I will say that people ripped on me like the first episode because they didn't explain that Jin Mori did Taekwondo. So I'm like, why is he only kicking? And then they explained it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Taekwondo, I didn't know that was a specialty. But no one's telling me on this one, on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like that's how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people fight, because he was doing like flips and all this kind of crazy shit. I've trained that martial arts, so like this one I know.
Yeah, but have you watched that one guy in like that other part of the world who specifically teaches
I feel like
this
anime is always super quick to take leisures with these words.
Oh,
where it's
for
like,
sure.
oh, he's a Taekwondo expert, and then he starts shooting lasers out of his hands, and you're like, I don't know if that was part of the training. I don't think I can't do that, you know. And it's like it's anime, so it's like every time somebody says they're an expert in something, it's like, but they're also in an anime. So it's like,
So
you
he
know.
was basically a parkour expert, that guy. It just got molly-whopped. Unfortunately, he was side fodder, as so many characters have been. And then we get into kind of the visitation before the final round. So we have Jin Mori visiting Mira, and we have Handawi visiting his friend, who is not dead yet, and they're kind of, they're going through like their reasonings as to why they need to win this next round, right? And Mira, though, really takes an MVP spot, in my personal opinion, in this episode, in bridging the gap between the two and being really, for lack of a better term, the bigger person in a lot of this, because Mira, in every respect, has like the most right to be angry, I would say, right? At least at Handawi, in a sense, like over Mori.
At least until she finds out about his friend and like why.
Exactly,
all that
right?
stuff, yeah.
Exactly. And even before she finds out, she takes a very different approach than most people, I would wager, would take. And she tries to come from a place of understanding. She even says something along the lines of like, we don't know what happened to him. Like he had intention, like he definitely was out to fuck me up. The fists don't lie. I thought that was a cool line. But there's got to be something going on here. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a really big move on her part. And she does a lot more in the episode later on to really, bring these people together as friends and basically carries on Handawi's friend's last dying wish, essentially, right? And so that was big. That was a big thing for her to do, which I thought was really cool. And so I think we get a little bit of a backdrop, whether it's during the fight, because then they kind of get into it, or before the fight, where basically now it's explained that Park says to Dae-Wi, he's like, okay, listen, I know your friend's dying, and I know what your wish was going to be.
And I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah,
so
piece of shit.
Let me play this shit.
Yeah, exactly. So he basically says, like, ahead of time, because that was going to be your wish, like, if you, or what, I don't know what his
He was like,
whole
if you
deal
win the
was.
tournament.
Yeah, he's like, if
you finish this up quick and don't
both
hold
of them.
back.
Yeah. He's like, both of them, you have to have an overwhelming victory against both of these people. I will use this nanotechnology shit to basically revive your friend from the brink of death. So Dae-Wi's like, that's what I'm doing. Hence why he molly-whopped Mira, and hence why he is not holding back against Jin Mori. So they get into the fight. We have that as a precursor now in the back of our minds. And this fight was fucking spectacular. Like, this was an awesome fight in every way, shape, and form. And some of the test recruiters or whatever were basically talking, and they're like, okay, they're pretty evenly matched, but like one of these people is going to start dropping off if the fight goes too long. And they don't specifically say who it is, but you could only assume that it's Han that's going to be the one to drop off, being that Jin Mori has the fruit in him. And also by the end of the fight, I mean, there's some mental things at play, but Jin Mori is just an absolute unit. Like he will not go down, like no matter what you hit him with. So it would make, I at least gravitated towards that way. It seems like they're kind of thinking that Jin Mori's going to win the fight the longer it progresses, but it's pretty damn even at first. And then it gets to the point where Jin knocks down Han, and Han has this that like power up mode, but like kind of in the wrong way. It's not, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, exactly right. And so Jin goes to help him up, and this is when it was sad because Han was like, I never considered any of you my friends, and just gets up and just fucking Mortal Kombat uppercuts him, so he's midair for like 5 seconds, so he could just load up his fucking his force stance attack and just lets Jin have it. And the animation on this was just absolutely freaking gorgeous, and the soundtrack was just fucking awesome. I do appreciate even I don't know if it was at that, I think it was at that point, it was right before he got knocked down, they literally just cut the music straight up, and it was just like footsteps and like the skating of feet across the ring. I thought that was really cool. I thought that added this like weird ambiance to it, you know what I mean, that like elevated the fight to a fight, right? Like this is exactly what we should be focusing on right now, nothing else. And it was like, when these people are like in the ring, it's like all the people that are watching and all that kind of stuff. Like there could be the crowd pumping you up and all that, but it's like when you're in there, it's just you. Yeah. It's you against whoever it is, and like who's ever better is coming out on top. And like that's your mind just laser focuses on that and just narrows its vision, and like that's it. So like I almost took that as like almost what was going on inside their minds, where it was almost just like this silence, you know what I mean, around, and they could just let the fists fly, or feet if you're Mori. So that was just really cool, something I appreciated. While this fight is going on, or while I would say Han is getting the upper hand on Jin Mori, who gets all 4 stances this time. It was cool to see the 4th stance finally come out and fuck him up. We go back to the hospital, right, where Mira is coming out of her treatment, basically. And then, stumbles across the ICU. So I don't know if any of you guys had any thoughts on, what I mean, on this scene in particular. When she goes in and she talks with, again, I can't remember his name, or she rather, you know what I mean? She goes in and sees what's happening.
Right, finds out all the everything going on. No, I mean, I thought it was cool. You said it before. Mira definitely is clearly the most mature, I guess, of the 3 here, and I guess whether you want to look at it as like she was, I mean, because like she says at the beginning of the episode is that like he was clearly angry and he was coming at me with this sort of like brutal raw intent, but like I don't really even think Mira. I mean, clearly we see it like neither one of these two I think actually believes that Dae-Wi doesn't see them as friends, right? It's the reason why I think each of them in their own way was like going as hard as they were to try and get through to him and like to like stay with him and like continue speaking, you know what I mean? Because like Mira didn't have to do anything that she did after. She could have literally just gone out of the hospital and gone home, right? But she saw that like the ICU, like finding out that this was related to Dae-Wi, that this was his friend, taking the his note to Dae-Wi, and even more again in his own way, like is clearly a man who like as long as you are not lying to yourself, as long as you are not, going back on sort of like your morals and the things you believe in, and as long as you are not actively like infringing upon other people's wills, he's genuinely like pretty fucking cool with you. You know what I mean? And like he's one of those guys who's just sort of like bare bones. He respects like a good brawl. You know what I mean? And so like they both see those traits in Dae-Wi, but he's also clearly very, strung out and very, sort of like pulled down by this weight of like his friend and everything he's going through. So it's cool. It was cool to see like all of this finally, because again, we brought this up, and I think in the last discussion, it's weird like the way that they've handled, I don't know, I guess like the pacing, if you want to call it that, where it's like the show has gone and told us that like Mira, Dae-Wi, and Mori are friends, right? They're like, these are the 3 squad, but it's like we made a comment where it's like, I personally haven't really felt like that, right? They've done like a weird job of like explaining exactly how much they know each other, exactly how long they've hung out. And it's like, we said this thing where it's like, you can know somebody, but purely by like relevance, right, to your situation. And it's like, they may know each other, but they don't know a lot about each other. And so this was, I mean, this being Dawi's literal only reason for being in this tournament. Essentially, it was nice for, all three of these people to finally sort of come into the same loop here and be like, oh, all right, these are the stakes. This is what's going on. Like, this is why everybody feels this way. And then sort of like work in their own ways, mirror more off the scene and more sort of like in the fight, to bring, to recenter Dae-Wi and sort of bring him back into like where we know Dae-Wi. Because I think, again, when we were talking in the last episode, like the way they structure it and set it up makes it sort of seem like because of the circumstances, Dae-Wi has been like, all right, fuck like everything that I've thought, fuck my morals, all that shit. I'm just blasting people and I'm gonna win. But that's not the case. You know what I mean? We even see in the fight when he learns that his friend has like just died, because this park nigga just does not sleep, bro. He just like, it's his mission to fuck with people as much as humanly possible. Yeah. He has a moment where he just like gives up. He's like, what the fuck is even like, all right, whatever, fuck this. And then, miracle. So it was nice. This episode did a good job of being like, all right, clearly these three are willing, like, are friends, and they're willing to go the mile. And this whole like, you guys aren't my friends. It's like, all right, Batman, sit down, like, relax. It was cool.
Yeah, for sure. And so right as Han delivers the final stance blow to Mori and knocks him down for almost 10 seconds. I knew, because sometimes it's funny, right? So, I mean, we all knew that Mori was going to, if not win, like it was going to be more than that. But it's funny, right? Because sometimes they'll just be like, knockdown, done. You know what I mean? Like in some of the fights, like done. But as soon as they were like, knockdown, 1, 2, I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. He's going to get
1. What comes after 1? All right, we'll start over. 0, 1. And you're like, nigga, all right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just get him some water, get him a snack. Clearly, we got time.
That shit had me cracking up. As soon as he said 1, I was like, okay, never mind. He's up. It's just a matter of if he chooses from 1 to 9 when he gets up. But anyway, so Han is waiting there, and as you had mentioned, Park just like literally comes up mid-match,
because they mentioned earlier that or later rather, that he comes into the hospital where Dawi's friend is and like tries to use the nano thing.
Yeah.
Now we don't know if this guy like rolled up in there and like stuck this nigga with a needle or something and was like, all right, hope you get better. Or like waited till this nigga was on his last breath and was like, all right, maybe we'll try this. Maybe it works. I'm not really invested.
Or killed him.
Yeah.
Purposely.
I kind of feel like it was a second, because that's just the dickiest thing you could do, where it's like he's waiting for this man to be on his last breath and he's like, oh, you need medicine? I got you, I guess. It's like, this man is just such a capital dick, bro. He's the villain. Like, that's his thing. But it's like, I'm actually now more curious, and hopefully, I don't know how the show goes, but if pacing and previous inclinations or anything, I have a feeling we might just start skipping beats here to get to the end. But I'm curious to know, like, why, what this Tiger Cup thing, like, what is Park's whole deal here? What is this investment that he's got in this? Because it's clearly worth literally fucking over anybody in anything in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just finding the strongest fighters. I mean, that's pretty much like,
yeah,
it
but
looks
like
that's
but like
the
to
purpose
what,
of movie.
like to what end? You know what I mean? Like, because he's clearly going through a lot of work to do it. It's one thing to make this tournament and be like, you won. That means you're the strongest fighter. But it's like, that's not what his intentions clearly don't stop there. You know what I mean? So it's like, I wonder why. Like, what is, because he mentions, you know what I mean, several times, he's like, oh, there's 2 Tiger Cubs, or like, it's like, what is this? What is it? You know what I mean? What drives him? What is this like? Why does he need to find
It's definitely
this?
some sort of grooming process, whatever he needs it for, whether to bring it to like, whether he's trying to grow an army or some like group of people who are just the strongest, most formidable, whether he wants to take on the world or whatever his political schemes are. But like, it clearly is to just gather as many of strong motherfuckers as he can to run some shit down the line. So, I mean, I don't know. And that's what's weird when we refer back to the manga, because we don't know anything because we're not reading it. And it's like, I wonder if they flesh more of that stuff out behind the scenes, because even within an episode, they make it a point to really emphasize that they are scheming on the side and that we don't know it for some reason. And I wonder how much they actually go into that in writing.
Yeah, maybe there's more like kind of if Tower of God's a reference, maybe there is more like character moments or monologue-y stuff that's maybe gives light to that.
Yeah, and I feel like there has to be, but I'm curious on when they're going to release that information in terms of this season that we're at now, because there's only going to be 12 episodes in totality,
12,
or
13, something like that,
and we're already almost halfway there, you know, and it's like, at what point are they going to start dropping the info bombs and really, like what Isaiah said, like picking up the pace and moving forward? Because I feel like if they do it at the wrong time and just try to jump too many steps ahead, that they're going to ruin the foundation that they've laid out pretty nicely so far. And I mean, the only episode where they really gave a lot of an info like dump that people didn't like was the prior episode with the whole marriage shit going on and stuff like that. And we even could tell that it felt rushed at times. It wasn't bad by any means. Like, it was enjoyable, but like, it was noticeable that they were trying to fit a lot in that tiny time slot. And I hope that the next episodes moving forward, now that we finished that big fight that everybody was anticipating, that they're just going to be like, now we need to rush to get to that next climax, wherever it was in the manhwa. And until then, they're just going to miss everything in between. So I hope they don't do that, and I don't think that they are. But you also kind of know that they have to. So it's really just however they marry it at the end. So hope for the best, expect the worst, I guess. But if they keep on the train that they have been, I couldn't see why it would be a problem like in the future, because it's dope. It's a good show. Yeah. And they have so much. It has so much potential to be like really good. And right now, it's really good. So hopefully they can just carry that momentum forward.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving along with it. So Park tells Han mid-fight that his friend died. So Han obviously doesn't take that too well. We get some more exposition because Jin gets up. And so we go kind of flashback here where Han seems to be like the cool cat at school because he is clearly the strongest in every way, shape, and form.
Story, nigga.
Yeah, right? He's got like an entourage of like the football team or some shit behind him, right? Like they're ready to fuck anyone up who looks at him wrong. And his one buddy takes notice, and then, you know, we flash forward to Han's just in a fight with, like, the Yakuza or, like, whoever the fuck, like, some gang, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? Like, how did you even get yourself into that trouble?
Just normal high school kids, Yakuza.
Yeah, just normal fucking day for fucking Han here, and he just beats the shit out of, like, 12 of them, but there's, like, 30 of them, so it's like, dude, you gotta just give it up at some point. And so, you know, the last second there, you know, the boy comes in and fucking helps him out. They go back to back and they fuck all of them up. And, you know, he begins to develop that friendship with him. And he basically says, like, what happened to your other boys? And he's like, they're not really friends. He's like, they use me for when it's convenient, and so I use them, you know? And it's like, it's cool because we finally see that within this friendship, it's an actual friendship, right? You know what I mean? And it relates later on into when he transitions that into Mori and Mira. So we have that, and it clearly has an impact on Handawi because he just basically falls to the ground, right? He's down for the count, and he didn't even get hit. He got hit mentally. So he's down, and he does get up. I was thinking for a split second, I'm like, is he just going to give up? Because now it's like, what's the point? I don't know, but you know what? I respected that he got up, and I think, you know, that's just part of his character that he's not going to rob Jin Mori of that chance to like actually have a brawl, which is really cool to me. So he gets up, and then they fight, and what followed were just some beautifully shot like panels, like the paint stroke thing,
it was like
fighting.
the watercolor.
Oh,
with, like,
dude,
the black.
that was so cool, man. That was just awesome to signify like how toe to toe they were going. And it was weird because for a second we didn't know whether it was like they were literally pulling punches or they were hitting them, and then it was like they weren't feeling it, like the ecstasy of the fight just was so overwhelming.
Weird like stasis where it was kind of like it was like, you know, like you know, again, the whole thing that they run with here where it's like, you know, they communicate through fighting, or it's like they're the most happy or at peace when they're brawling. So it's like this idea that like in the midst of this fighting, they're like, you know, like happy and like, you know what I mean? But it was like, I guess it was just weird, like visually, because you couldn't tell like if they were actually fighting or if it was like more of like a acknowledgement thing. I don't know, but it did look dope.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, and it was pretty damn even until Jin Mori just decided to say fuck the rules and just made up a move where he just summons a blue dragon, which was like, okay. It was like, we're just,
literally Dae-Wi was like, here's my dragon stance, and he's like, hold on a minute, let me just pull out a blue. What?
Yeah, I feel like Dae-Wi, where he's like, I trained my whole life to fight at this final stance. It's like the ultimate, like, you know, final stand. And Jin's like, what was it called? Black Drew Azure Dragon? All right, I got it. And just throws like 5 times the size, like on a whim. And it's like,
let me just manifest that with my fucking mind and just throw it at you, because that's literally what happened. So whatever, somebody had to win at some point.
Yeah.
So
this is Mori's story.
It's definitely like a hidden stance that only like people know who read it, and like we're supposed to know this whole time.
Of course, because that's, you know, really what happened. But anyway, so he throws the blue dragon at him or kicks it at him, whatever the hell, and wins. So, you know, not a surprise there. Dae-Wi drops. But the whole time Park is like, we got two tiger cubs now, to kind of relate back to what we were saying before. But it's like now it's like he has recognized Dae-Wi's potential, right? And the reason he had told him to kind of backtrack that his friend had died was because now I'm going to see like if he's really up to snuff, right? Or if what he's going to do, and if he's worthy, and if he pushes Jin Mori to a point where he needs to go, So there's a whole bunch of strings being pulled in the background here, obviously. Sure. And before that, though, like I said, Mira, like I said in the beginning of the episode, so I won't flesh it out too far, but she comes in, and the reason they fight again when he gets up, because at first he's just kind of taking blows, is because she delivers the note of him, or of his best friend to him mid-fight. And this was just an hilarious scene. This is before the Blue Dragon thing. I skipped it, sorry. But where the fucking ref is like, all right,
just fight.
Fight. And Jim Moore's like, it's like a
covering his ears, like saying la la la, like running in circles.
A literal child, and he's covering his mouth. And it's like just so funny how the ref has like no fucking say what actual. I feel like you'd want a ref that was like equally as badass as one of like the administrators or like recruiters or whatever, just in case shit got out of whack, that they could like
needed to
pin one of them down. You know what I mean?
I don't think this nigga could.
No,
if, like, they really were like, no, we're fighting. He's like, okay. I'll just
that's what happened. He literally turned around and he's like, okay.
He's strictly a hype man. Like, that's it. He should not be a ref at the same time. He should just be like, you won, you lost. But like, they should have an actual referee there, but whatever.
We know that if shit does get out of hand, those administrators can be here in a fucking half a second.
That's true, yeah.
Them niggas will jump down the rafters at a moment's fucking notice. That is true. That was it. Remember when Mori was fighting Stray Jack?
Exactly.
They were on his ass in half a fucking second. All four of them, like, fucking,
They were ready to rock.
Yeah, why do you need a ref at that point?
Yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
He is just the hype man. He's not the ref.
That's it. I guess I'm just surprised that they even put him in the ring at that point. Like he could probably stand outside and still talk on the microphone, but I mean, whatever. So yeah, that was fucking funny. But anyway, they go through the fight, and Dae-Wi gets knocked down. He loses, and then they all walk out. Mira goes with them and brings the boys together, and it's like we're all friends, and it's like you need to translate this friendship onto us now, because this was your friend's last dying wish.
It's time to move on.
Exactly, but he will never be forgotten. And so they walk out of the ring, and Park is impressed, obviously. It was cool to see the one administrator. She's just like, he or she was just like...
Also, it's interesting here, because like
clapping.
You have the show up here. This picture that they have taken that he puts on it is from when they're walking away. So I'm like, did somebody literally just snap a picture of them as they're walking? And it's like, got it. It's like, where did that picture come from?
I mean, it is like an entertainment. They probably got cameras everywhere, so they're probably like, you want one? Like, fuck it. I don't know, dude. Yeah. somebody just doped it.
So red.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so they have it. They walk out of the ring, and then the credits roll, and we have that last scene where Dae-Wi is putting his shit back in the locker, and he has the ashes of his friend there, and the picture of him, and then he puts the the new picture up on top of it with Morjin and Mira, which was really just touching. It was
good shit, because he has the note where he says like, you probably don't have any friends other than me, and then he gets to put the picture up, and it's like, I'm not alone.
Yeah,
and that for me, so that when you were talking about friendships, like way back in the middle of the episode, that's. For me, this episode made it clear that now at this point they are friends. And well, I mean, obviously, but like prior, like as you mentioned, we didn't know. It was very we see it jarring where it's like we think that they're supposed to be really close, but we don't know because obviously they don't know basic fucking information about each other. So it's like, where do they lie? And obviously, since we don't read the manhwa, we don't know any other exposition heavy shit. So at this point, as we said before, if you look back, I assume they were only acquaintances. And at this point, it really solidified for me that they were. And now that he's had this experience where Dae-Wi can accept people, and because obviously he's the hardest one to break compared to fucking Mori and Mira, that like honestly,
befriend a fucking banana.
Exactly. So it's like now this kind of just makes it clear for us that this starting from now forward, they all accept each other.
Like now they're willing to go that extra mile and like actually be friends and learn about each other.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents on it. But it's nice. It's nice shit. Cute.
Yeah.
Happy.
No, I love it.
It's nice. Cute. I would even say
beautiful. Just a friend had to die to realize it, but it was worth it. At the end of the day.
Damn, dude. Never be forgotten. Yeah, dude, it was wild. But a lot of mixed emotions in this one, and I thought it made it one of the best episodes yet, if not the best one, personally, my opinion. But now, those are our thoughts. We pass the question off to you, the viewer. If you're viewing this on YouTube, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell, sharing with your friends. But most importantly, and what I wanted to get to, comment your thoughts down below. Let us know what you thought of this episode, of this discussion. Was there anything we missed without spoiling anything? And just your general impressions of The God of High School thus far. If you're listening on audio-only versions, make sure you guys are throwing a follow on there, and hit us up on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, especially if we start to do polls and things like that. I was thinking about it. Social media here, I'm not even just trying to play this up, is going to be key in that, because it is so freaking easy to throw up a poll on an Instagram story or whatever, and it's like, we know there are X amount of subscribers that we have at the time of recording this on YouTube, right? But like there's a fraction of that on social media, which is fine. But in order to get like an actual large pool of people and their thoughts and opinions on where we want to put the show forward, it's a little easier to do it in social media context rather than in YouTube context.
And it just makes it easier to like to talk to you, like to ask you guys questions. If like you know, we're like,
do shit on the fly.
Exactly.
And, like, you don't have to meet up. Have to sit here, like go through it. Like you can do it whenever.
For sure. And your opinions have definitely had a profound impact on how we run this channel and the conversations that we had. Huge impact. You guys really don't even know. So anyway, thank you so much for being a part of the ride and the journey with us. We are honored to have you all. But yeah, until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the flip. Peace. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our new episodes.
You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AoA Podcast if you want to keep up with our content or suggest new ideas for the show.
You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week to talk about all things anime.